Okay, are you ready?
Yes.
Hello everybody, welcome to Speak Votomi. Thank you so much for joining me. Today I'm excited because I'm not alone. I am with the beautiful
Thanda Mtetwa.
and we are going to talk about how to become a psychologist. So if you know anyone in your world that this information would be applicable to, please do share this video with them and do not forget to subscribe. So without further ado, Speak Votomi, let's go. So, you've already mentioned that Gama was Sis Thanda. Okay, I refer to her as Sis Thanda.
And I refer to her as Kat.
What I want to do now is I just want to ask like a few questions about the psychology career on its own. So the first one I want to know is all you do sit and listen to people's problems 24/7? Like, I'm sure I'm not the only one thinking this.
Yeah. A large part of our time involves that.
Yeah.
You know, we are about listening so that when we intervene, we know what we're doing. You know, so a large part of it is about listening, and that's why people come to us, because they get to be listened to.
Okay, but I'm just thinking of that person that's thinking, oh my word, I'm gonna go and become a psychologist, and that's all I'm gonna do the whole day.
No.
That's not it. Okay.
That's not it. Yes, the listening and asking a lot of questions is involved.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot.
Okay. I think the point I want to get across here is that there's more to psychology than what people think.
There's therapy, there's interventions, there's assessments, there's quite a lot.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to know about the term a shrink. Is it an okay term to use? I know some people are upset about it. Some people, might not be. Some people think. I personally think it's derogatory, but I don't know.
I don't know. I think maybe you're also speaking to the wrong person, because I don't get involved or get offended by trivial stuff. So I think it's just a term that it's just there. Maybe if we really shrank people's brains, then it would be a problem.
Yeah.
But I really just see it as a casual, funny word that sometimes we use it amongst ourselves. I think maybe that's another thing. It would depend how a person is using it. If they intend to be insulting, then you will get the insult.
The insult you. So once you're done studying psychology, do you psychoanalyze everybody? Are you doing it now?
No. you know the best part about this, I always say, the day that an engineer or an electrician comes into a house and they start counting the number of plugs and the amps, then is the day we'll start psychoanalyzing everyone.
Let's get right into it. Then what is a clinical psychologist for someone who might not know?
Okay, maybe let me split these two words up.
Okay. Yeah.
Psychologist, you're talking about a professional who is studying human behavior, human thoughts, and human psychopathology. Okay. Pathology can be in different ways. It could be educational, it could be, in so many different ways. But a clinical studies the pathology that is more clinical. So when we're talking about psychiatry as such, that's when the clinical comes in. So you've got a number of categories in psychology. You've got your counseling. Those one will do counseling only, and when they pick up anything that's a pathology or that's more
so by pathology
clinical,
you mean something an abnormality?
Yes,
or
a
disease.
Yeah, a disease.
Yeah.
Yes, I think that word is the perfect word, a disease, because in psychology we deal with minor things from stress about exams, right up to major things like suicide or even schizophrenia, So it's the clinical psychologist that deals with the more serious ones, where we are dealing with medication and all of that. It's the clinical psychologist who usually works very closely with psychiatrists. So we work closely with doctors. That's why the term clinical, because only us can be in a clinical setting.
And then obviously the difference between a clinical psychologist and the psychiatrist then would be the medical element of it. So you do not give out medication and all of that stuff.
And we are trained more in terms of therapy, psychotherapy. So like you're saying, if the person does need medication, because there are times when a person does need medication, then you refer to a psychiatrist. But a psychiatrist as well may give medication and realize that there are deeper psychological problems, then they refer to a clinical psychologist.
Okay, makes perfect sense. What then made you decide that this is the career for me, this is something that I want to do?
Maybe to go a little bit back, I grew up in rural areas. I knew I wanted to do something that has to do with caring for people. My mother's side of the family is very medical, and so I was dabbling about in that space and all of that. But the bloods and all of that was just not my thing. No, it's just not my thing. But as well, I think because of, my upbringing, I just wanted to be there for someone. I felt like I would have been a better person, or maybe have matured in a better way had I had someone that I spoke to. So social work was the first thing that was in my mind, with the background that I had. But as we progressed in that first year, I realized that not social work. Psychology is what I want to do. It was gonna be a long time, 6 years. But I was like, you know what, I know this is what I want to do. Where I looked at the other aspects of social work, they didn't go to where I wanted to go. And so I was like, I think psychology is really the best for me. And the journey was long, but
someone does say, like, it's long, but someone does say, like, okay, you think of 6 years and you're like, oh my word, 6 years studying. But do you understand 6 years is going to pass regardless of whether you study or not?
Exactly. You could see 6 years later and wish you started.
Yeah, exactly. What are the steps that need to be taken? Like, let's start maybe even from high school or even primary, if that's what are the steps that need to be taken in order to become a psychologist?
Okay. I think in the earlier years, you need to be academically strong. You need to get a bachelor's pass in metric. We're not finicky about maths or science and all of that.
So the maths one is something that a lot of people ask about, because apparently there's the stat element to psychology. So you can get through without the maths.
It would help you, but it's not necessary. So there's 3 degrees right now that I do know that you can start with. So you can either start with the B-Psych, it's the best, it's best to start with B-Psych because it has honors built in.
Yes.
Okay. So it's 4 years. There you don't really need maths. If you get stuck in stats, just get someone who's good at it.
To help you out. Yes, ask for help.
And then I went the BA route, but you can also go the BSc route. Of course, you're gonna need maths and physics for BSc.
For BSc,
So then after that, if you did the BA or the BSc, then you're going to need to do the honors. And usually the honors is you are accepted depending on your results again.
So you pray
and work very hard.
Okay. Both things balance. Okay, got it.
So fortunately with B-Psych, you just go through and until you pass your honors. It's after honors where things get a little bit shaky, a little bit hard, because it's not just about your intelligence and your marks and all of that. Now, for you to be admitted to the master's program, there's a whole lot of things that they look at. Your personal growth, you fit into the university style, are you trainable? Because you can really want to be something, but the people that are there, they feel like you're too stubborn, you can't be trained when it comes to this. You're not bendable.
So it's not just about, so after honors, I'm assuming then you're going to the masters.
To the masters.
And then it's not only about the academics, it then becomes about you as a person.
Yes, because in masters, you've done theory for the past 4 years. You've done all of these things and you sort of know the basics. You know the human behavior by then. You know all of these theories, the psychoanalysis and whatnot throughout these 4 years. But in masters, that's when they grill the therapist. That's when the therapist is cooked.
Sure.
So it's not much about the academics. Yes, it's still needed because you're still going to add a little bit more, in depth now, not just about theory, but in practice and all of that. That's where you start your practicals as well. But it's the person that's dealt with
Okay, so then what do you think it is about your personality that makes you a good psychologist? Because I'm seeing that like they want, you need to be suitable for the career itself, you know.
I don't know how to answer that
Trying
question.
To be humble.
For me, I would say some of the things that have really been a part of my personality in terms of being accepted, the fact that I don't struggle to care.
Okay.
I'm just generally caring, very attuned to people's emotions. Even, you know, we have these things like empathy and non-judgmental attitude and all of that. Those things, I think, for me, were just an addition to study them. They're just
they come easy.
They come easy for me, and I think a whole lot of life's experiences as well, because that counts. I think at the time when I studied, I was quite mature. I had gone through a lot
in life,
you know, and I think that also counted.
So it's about allowing yourself to grow, and then also not being judgmental, and obviously being very empathetic towards people.
You gotta love people. You gotta have a heart for people.
You did mention that you were much more mature. You didn't just start studying from or after high school, or did you?
No.
Okay.
I finished high school fairly young.
Okay.
Okay. No, at that time, viewers, at that time, when I started grade 1, we didn't have grade R. We just started grade 1, sub A. So it would be a matter of, can you reach and touch your ear this side?
Okay, things are very different now.
And I could. And
so you went to grade 1.
So I went to grade 1, but because of family challenges, after matric I stayed 2 years in study, and then I went for my 3-year degree. But then again, family issues, and then I stayed at home, and then so there were breaks in between.
So the reason I'm asking that is because you eventually got to a point where you had to juggle family, you had to juggle school, and all of that stuff. How did you manage, you know, to do all of these things and still pursue psychology?
I think, without blowing my own horn, I think I was quite focused. I had made up my mind that I want to do psychology. But the support, I think mainly it was the support from my husband, the support from the varsity itself. Our trainers were very supportive. They were very clued up, and they could pick up when something is not okay, and they would rally against you, around you. I think the team as well that I was with at that time. And at the time I was still singing, and music was just my outlet. I would come to church and just lay it all down. You know, so that helped. And I think I didn't have naughty children as well. They were quite manageable, and so I didn't feel burdened by my children. You know, it was a matter of, okay, let's do life, you know.
I think, I'm thinking in terms of maybe like the mother or you know, the single parent or whatever that is juggling so many things at the same time, yet they still have things that they want to pursue. Like, is it possible?
Oh, yes, it is.
It won't be easy though, I'm assuming.
It won't be easy, but it is possible. Like, I think you heard that I mentioned the different areas of support, you know, that's the best thing. Some of us, I think I do have that kind of personality where when you're stressed, you want to pull away from everyone and just deal with things yourself. Then you know that you're not supposed to do that, because then where do you get support? But find people that you can trust, find people that are invested in you and what you are about and what you're doing. Because I think at that time, you know, you get those things that we do that people are like, why are you doing this? Are you still studying? At your age, you're still studying. You have children, you have, you know, all of those things. And so maybe stay away from those people.
You definitely need to block those voices out.
They are your energy drainers, and they might blur your vision in terms of what you're trying to do. So find those people that believe in you, that believe in what you're trying to do, and you will get support from them. And it's hard, but doable. I think I've seen a lot of single women that just push through, they just did it, and they just did it, and you're like, whoa, I don't know if I was single, if I would have been able to.
Or what's my excuse? Because you see someone, you know.
Exactly. So
you spoke about coming to church and singing, and that was like your outlet. I'm assuming the reason for that is because there's a lot of things that you learn in psychology that either trigger some of the things that you maybe had suppressed because of your past or your experiences and stuff like that. So how did you deal, with things like that?
And I went to therapy. I'm still in therapy.
Wait, no. You're supposed to put us in therapy. What do you mean you're still in therapy? Like,
it is recommended for therapists to be in therapy.
Okay, so then the therapy goes to therapy, then
and the therapist.
The one at the top goes to who?
There's no top.
There's no top.
It's
like,
a circle. It's just a circle. So,
okay.
Yeah.
So everybody needs. Okay.
Everybody needs. For various reasons. When you are in therapy, you get to experience what you do to the other person, and so you can understand their struggles better. You can understand when it's hard for them to move forward because you know the process yourself.
Empathy again.
Yes, empathy again. Yes, but as well, this job is very stressful, and so you need someone that understands where you are. So therapy can maybe be in a form of supervision. That it's not just there's issues, but that, hey, I'm tired. Can you just deal with this for me? Can you just help me deal with this? Things like those. So it's recommended that we do that.
So this process is actually quite a challenging one. It's not easy going, or you snap your finger and it's done.
No. I think any good thing doesn't come easy.
Yeah. So the reason I'm asking that is because I want to know then, just give me one. What is one of the most challenging things or obstacles you found in your way in pursuit of psychology? I'm sure there's many.
I think it was part of it, the journey to self-definition. It's very interesting that I'm pulling in the church as having been part of my healing, yet church was also part of my conflict. Because it was in church where I would get unpleasantries, if I can put it that way. Why are you doing psychology and you are a child of God? Are you trying to be God? Do you mean that God can't heal people? They have to come to you, that kind of thing. And some of them had studied psychology, and it was like
demonic.
They know some of the beliefs that are not so Christian, and so it's like, so you believe in this, and you say you believe in God.
Okay.
So it was that conflict, but once again, because of the relationship with God, that I always went back to Him to say, I know this is what you've given me. I know this is my journey. I really do believe that God cannot or has not come as a person or as God, but He gives a piece of Himself to each and every one of us.
Yeah.
So if I am empathic and I'm loving,
and that's why we can't put Him in a box.
Yeah. If I'm doing that for that person, I'm just doing what God has called me to do. I'm just doing what God would be doing if He was meeting a wounded person. He would be loving, He would be covering that person, He would be walking with them on a journey to healing. That's what I'm doing in a human form. I'm not gonna be God, but I'm doing what God would do. I'm sure we say, what would Jesus do?
Yeah. And we also say we're the hands and feet of Jesus, so we must be an extension of who He is.
So whether it's a doctor or a lawyer or whatever profession that we are in as children of God, we are just an extension of His hands.
Yeah. How do you feel that psychology has changed your life? Either being a psychologist, studying psychologist, how do you feel it has changed your life, it has changed your thinking? What is the one thing you think, if it was not because I studied or became a psychologist, I would not be the person that I am today?
I think you mentioned it just a moment ago, that not taking things at face value.
Yeah.
I think in our conversations that you say something very simple and I ask a question.
Like, what do you mean? Yes.
I've learned to do that. I've learned not to take things at face value. When I see someone happy, I'm like, oh, she's happy. I'm like, you're really happy.
Yes. Okay.
Especially if it's people that are really close to me, But even with things that have to do with national things or things that have to do with my family, I always want to get to the bottom of things. And so I question a lot.
A lot of things, yeah.
I question a lot of things. It can be tiring from within, but it's doing me good in a sense that I feel like I connect with people at a very different level. Yeah.
And then we had spoke a bit about the church and faith coming into play, and you also mentioned how the church played the role of frustration, a bit of frustration especially in your psychology journey. How then have you created the balance between your faith, and where does your faith come into play when being a psychologist? Because obviously you can't make it take over and impose your views on other people. But at the end of the day, it's who you are.
If I can go back a little bit, I think I am grateful, eternally grateful that I knew God before I knew psychology. So for me, knowing God really grounded me. It sobered me up. I wasn't gullible, if I can put it that way. It wasn't a matter of psychology and we take everything in. No, I was already having that mind of God and His Word being the standard by which I measure everything. So for me, I'm really grateful for that. What I have is to give a person who is really struggling just the power to stand. But in terms of walking the walk of life, I can't do that. No, I can't do that.
But even then, you're not helping them. You're not making them stand. Like, you don't make, like, a certain amount of energy also has to come from that person.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
Most definitely. That's why I think whether therapy works or doesn't, it has a lot to do with the person as well.
To somebody who's considering this career, to somebody that wants to do this, to maybe somebody who's put it aside because of life's challenges or things came up, what would you say to them, and what would you give to them as an encouragement to keep at it?
One of the things in my journey with psychology is that I have found my purpose is not psychology, but psychology is a tool by which I use to do what I'm supposed to do. And I need you to find your purpose first and foremost. Sometimes we find the tool only to find that it doesn't fit who we are. It doesn't fit our journey. Find who you are. Find what you created to do, then find the tool. If psychology is the tool, then go for it. It's a long journey. It's a beautiful journey. It's a beautiful journey. A journey, I'll tell you, the way that you think afterwards, the way that you see the world is not going to be the same. But pursue it only if you do know that it's just a tool that takes you, that helps you to do what you are born to do. And I think passion about it is which passion will come from purpose again. Passion will come from purpose. Like I told you, there's been so many times when I had a chance to stop, but
something said no.
I just couldn't, had to shut out certain people, not because I hated them, but because they were not speaking to my journey. They were not speaking to what I then knew and sure of. So pursue it if you know that this is what you're supposed to do, and you are sure about it. Pursue it. It's a beautiful journey.
And you will know. It will feel right.
Yes, most definitely. It will feel right. It will feel like, fit like a glove kind of situation. Yeah, it will. Yeah.
Sure. I have learned so much. I am excited to become a psychologist. But I'm not making any promises because I can change very fast. But thank you so much, Sis Thanda. We have learned so much. Please do leave your questions in the comment section. I'll try to add it in so that you can respond to any of the questions that you might have. If you have a question relating to how you can be a psychologist, how you can maybe even be a better psychologist, then she will definitely answer, so you can put your questions in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching. Continue to fight for life. Like she mentioned, be purposeful, and you will be driven by passion as well. And you will look back at your life and you will be completely satisfied with it. Till the next time, keep speaking life. Mwah.